Thank you so much. I'm excited to be a part of the Digital Analytics Summit. I'm glad you took time out of your busy schedule to be with me today. The team here asked me to talk about the pros and cons of digitalization after COVID-19. I think we can all agree that the coronavirus has challenged us personally and professionally this year. It's also made us think about how we market our brands differently as consumer behavior has shifted very quickly. The economy is uncertain. Brands initially started freezing or slashing budgets for marketing. While that has changed a bit as the year has progressed, eMarketer is projecting that ad spend globally will drop $20 billion. Influencers, as popular channels for reaching customers, have reported seeing an almost 30% drop in engagements. That was back in March when the pandemic hit. Though some have recovered, there's still a lot lower spend and a lot lower level of engagement than in years prior. Even those influencers and brands who were producing content then realized that the world wasn't in the right mood to think of business as usual. Messaging from brands not recognizing this new challenge we're facing were deemed as inappropriate or even offensive to some. Frustrating as that might be for you as a business owner or as a business marketer, adversity often produces some of our best work because it challenges us to stop thinking and acting the way we always have and look at our marketing challenges differently. 1 year ago, none of us would have imagined we would need to market to an audience that wouldn't or couldn't leave home very often. We could see websites like Amazon changing consumer behavior to order more items from home. And we've been watching a steady decline in retail businesses over the last decade because of the convenience of e commerce. But COVID has made that situation take a giant leap forward. Consumer behavior, however, isn't the only thing that has changed. We, the marketers, have also been confined to work from home. If we want to shoot a new television commercial, we can't just book a studio or a set, gather everyone up, and film the way we always have. Our business, or if we're at an agency, our clients have had to close stores, cancel events, or move to all virtual interactions. That has forced us to rethink how we all do business. And I, for one, think it has made us better marketers. You don't really know how good you are and how good you are at what you do until you're challenged to do it better than you ever have. So I would like to spend some time with you today talking about the challenges of COVID-19, what they have brought us, but also illustrate how you can and how many brands and businesses have responded. Let's start with the television commercial filming problem. My agency, Cornett, had this very problem. At the beginning of the pandemic in February or March of this year, we landed a commercial television project for a major client. It was the first time we'd been able to work with this particular company, which is one of the largest consumer product good companies in the world. We had our commercial script written, actors chosen for the spot, a location booked, equipment and producers ready to go, and then the first major lockdown in the United States happened. The client, like everyone else, paused temporarily, but we knew this commercial had to happen whether the lockdown happened or not. So we started making alternative plans. We concepted and wrote a new commercial that would deliver the same message, but use stop animation photography to express the ideas visually. It wouldn't use actors at all or need a location shoot. We engaged an artist who specialized in stop motion animation and produced a replacement commercial in a matter of weeks. The commercial still aired on time and helped boost the client's online sales because we helped them capitalize on consumers shopping more from home with fresh advertising creative. Being nimble, responding quickly but wisely, empowered us to not only help a client overcome an incredible challenge during an unprecedented set of circumstances, but also impressed the client that we could be so thoughtful about their brand and responsive to the challenge we faced. Let's stay on that path of talking about video content. Consumers have been forced to stay home more during the COVID-19 pandemic. That means they aren't going out to eat as much. They aren't going to concerts or sporting events or other social gatherings. That means they have a lot of extra time on their hands. So they're looking for engaging content on social networks and other websites. Video content is not only far more engaging to consumers, but it's also prioritized by social networks like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter in the news feeds. If you post video content, those networks are more likely to weigh it as more important in that newsfeed algorithm because consumers stop and engage with video more than other forms of content. The only thing better than video content is live video content. It just so happened that around March of 2020, when COVID-19 hit, live streaming was starting to become more accessible for most people and brands. Facebook Live had been up for about a year. LinkedIn Live was just opening up to more than its beta users. Instagram started its live feature about then too. Not to mention a world of third-party tools for live streaming were starting to become available. Brands needed to deliver experiences to their audience who were stuck at home and looking for online content. Smart brands saw that opportunity and began live streams. Healthcare brands like Johnson & Johnson in the United States had been doing live streaming before COVID hit. Now they ramped up their efforts and began live streaming weekly. Their program now draws in almost 500,000 views each week. Dixie Bell Paint Company, which is an arts and crafts supply brand, turned to its employees and turned them into crafters and live streams, sometimes 2 or 3 videos per day, showing its fans and customers how to build neat art projects. The supplies, of course, can be ordered online from Dixie Bell Paint. One of Cornett's clients is the Buffalo Trace Distillery. It is the world's most award-winning distillery of alcoholic beverages and is home to many popular bourbon whiskey brands in the U.S. Those brands are growing around the world as well. Brands like Buffalo Trace Bourbon, Eagle Rare Bourbon, Weller, Blanton's, and even the legendary Pappy Van Winkle collection of bourbons come from this distillery. But the distillery normally sees hundreds of thousands of visitors on site during the summer. People can take public tours of the facility to see how bourbon whiskey is made. In March, the government advisory shut tourist attractions down, so no one could visit the distillery. Or could they? In May, the Buffalo Trace Distillery launched Whiskey Wednesdays, a live stream tour of some part of the distillery for fans to watch on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. The episodes air for about 15 minutes and sometimes include more than tours. They also host tastings on the show to have experts explain what a particular brand or expression of bourbon whiskey tastes like. The shows deliver a great online experience for fans of the distillery and for the brands, while increasing advocacy and loyalty for the brands as well. Now, how many people would you guess would watch a 15-minute live stream from a whiskey distillery in Frankfort, Kentucky in the United States each week? Would you believe a weekly average of over 135,000 people? The viewership reached a high of 200,000 or 209,000 people for one episode in July. And while at first live streams like this were meant to be temporary projects to engage consumers stuck at home for a short term, brands like the Buffalo Trace Distillery have turned them into regular programming. The distillery reopened to visitors in July, and while they can't host as many as they could if COVID restrictions weren't in place, the need for a virtual experience isn't as great. However, the distillery plans to continue Whiskey Wednesday live streaming into 2021. Another example of live stream programming that is the result of responding to the adversity we face is with our clients at Keeneland Thoroughbred Racetrack. Keeneland is one of the top horse racing venues in the world. It actually hosted the Breeders' Cup World Championships of horse racing just a few short weeks ago. But fans are not yet allowed back to sports venues like Keeneland, so its fall meet, which normally sees hundreds of thousands of people come to the track to eat, drink, and bet on horses, it was without spectators this year. Keeneland responded, however, by producing something called Keeneland at Home. It brought the track experience to fans via live streaming with a pre-race show every day. The show included betting advice. That's host Christina Blacker interviewing handicapper Ellis Starr on the show. Cocktail recipes were also served up so you could have cocktails while watching the races. And of course, it brought the broadcast of the entire race card to the internet as well. The Keeneland at Home experience was broadcast on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube Wagering on the races actually set some records, despite the fact fans weren't at the track. Oh, and one more thing about live streaming. If you produce a live stream video for your brand, you can record it, pull off the audio, and just like that, you have an audio podcast. So you can quickly repurpose the content and expand your reach into podcasting, a medium you may not be leveraging to engage your customers yet. At Cornett, I host a weekly live stream where we interview notable marketing experts to learn from them. After the stream is done, I simply take the audio and post it as an audio podcast. The show is called Digging Deeper, and the audio version is just as popular as the live video. The common thread here is brands responding well to the challenge of COVID-19 are creating engaging content. One area people are turning to more and more for engaging content these days are influencers. Online influencers are a very smart and simple way to keep your brand top of mind with consumers. Identify people who influence your target audience with their online content and partner with them to include your brand in what they talk about. Your customers are looking for genuine creative content to entertain them. Many influencers are influential because of the creative content they produce. Consumers also trust the product recommendations of third-party experts like influencers far more than the trust commercials or even a company's website might produce. Influencers can serve as that expert opinion, recommending your brand to their audience. And you can collaborate with influencers to use their content on your social channels, on your website, or even in your advertising. Why spend time and money trying to create great content for your audience when there's a world of expert content creators out there for you to collaborate with? I've got a lot more advice about influencer marketing on my website at jasonfalls.com/influence-marketing. You can also listen to my weekly podcast. It's called Winfluence, the Influence Marketing Podcast, to get more ideas and advice there. Finally, a quick word on the measurement and analytics of all this. The digital world of influencer marketing on social networks, live stream videos on your social channels, and all the other methods you can use allows you to measure a wide variety of things. My advice has always been twofold for measurement. First, measure to your goals. If your goal is to drive awareness for a product, you need to measure things like reach, impressions, and video views. If your goal is to convert customers, you need to focus on traffic, conversions, and sales. Instead of trying to report everything, report what matters. And that's normally only 3 or 4 metrics. The second part of my measurement advice is to plan to measure. If you get to the end of a campaign, year, or month and then think, how did we do? You're not going to be happy with the results because you didn't plan to measure. You need to set up your website, your social channels, your influencers, your content, and every other mechanism you use to not just be able to capture the data it should, but the specific data you want to look at. For example, if you're going to spend thousands of dollars on influencers, don't you want to know which influencers are converting customers best? You can't do that if you don't plan to measure and give each influencer unique coupon codes or URLs so you can separate the analytics from each to know. You have to plan to measure. Are we challenged by COVID-19 as marketers? Of course we are. But again, I'll go back to the idea that we are often pushed to be our best selves when we have to do so facing adversity. You don't know how good you can be until you have to step up and be great in the face of a great challenge. As you think of your marketing challenges in the coming weeks or months, even beyond COVID-19, remember that your attitude can make or break your success. You can look at marketing in a post-COVID-19 world as a dreadful exercise in just trying to survive, but you can also look at it as an opportunity to really shine through with your brilliance in solving marketing and communications problems despite the challenges. In the US, we have an expression or quote that I think is appropriate here. That which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We are better marketers today because COVID-19 has challenged us. Embrace that challenge and continue doing great work for your businesses, for your brands, for your clients, and your customers. Thank you for your time today.